Greetings, my cosmic wonderland of people. How are you? I had a request, so let's go for it. And the request was about Kruger, our wonderful Dunning-Kruger. There's another name in there too, but it's sort of just known as Dunning-Kruger. And it's been around forever, but there were several people who studied the effects, and that's why it's known as that. But if you look into the good old proverbs and quotes from yesteryear, you'll see that this has been known forever. Mark Twain, Shakespeare maybe said, a fool is someone who thinks they're wise, and a wise man is someone who thinks they're a fool. So this little Kruger Dunning-Kruger was an experiment, like a test where weirdly it just kept coming out again and again and again that those who are kind of know the least are the most confident, and those who know the most are the least confident. You think of a really neurotic person who might be running around with their nose in a book, not very socially there, and then you think of those who are just super confident, that just go for it in life, but have really no great knowledge. Okay, and so there's something in the Kruger effect about we don't know what we don't know, and that there's going to be and that a little knowledge is dangerous. A little bit of knowledge can be very dangerous. Maybe if someone knows nothing about something, they'll have some sort of fear, but there's a lot of these crazy carpenter things, and these are kind of just, I don't know if they're funny or not funny. They're sort of harrowing illustrations, and there are so many of them out there of people. I've seen them like on cars, riding ladders between cars and all kinds of craziness. But this, these are sort of like the easy ways to show this effect, but the more dangerous to us, like as a whole, to us as a society and a civilization, the Dunning-Kruger-Dunning effect that is there where you don't see it. And there are a lot of articles and studies showing, the Dunning-Kruger is about lacking knowledge, having more confidence, and having knowledge and lacking confidence. So it's a disaster when it comes to corporations and hiring, because confidence is where it's at right now. And this is where one can say, whoa, is human nature just bound to fail? Or is Dunning-Kruger being, and this was what my friend was concerned about, is it being weaponized and, rewarded in such a way that, now we have a society that is, and it doesn't matter if it's on the left or on the right. I sort of see it more here on the left because I live in a libtarded town, but and I don't even like saying left or right anymore. It's lame. It seems like anything people in Antifa don't like, they'll just suddenly say it's right wing without even knowing what is right, what is left, what is any of it at this point. So I'm sorry about that, my bad. But it's just a sort of splendid stupidity that's run away and that seems to have the upper hand. And the problem with hiring is people hire the confident one. And there was another really great quote I saw that said, the truly passionate human being is the one who knows the least and the most disinterested or whatever, dispassionate is the one who's going to be knowing the most. And so we see this time and again with a reward going out for that. Now there was a question, that I kind of had, which was where does narcissism fit in, right? We can look at different facets of this. And I looked at one article that it was more than an article, it was like a little study, and I'm sorry I kind of blanked out of it. I can bring it up again later for another vid. And it was saying that, narcissism had nothing to do with it. It went across the spectrum of people's personalities but then I saw a YouTube that someone made, and they felt that the Kruger-Dunning was the definition of narcissism, that the lack that the Kruger-Dunning is about lack of self-awareness, which to them was the very definition of narcissism. That there's this sense of infallibility and delusion as to what reality is. So I don't want to split hairs or anything, but it's just a fascinating concept. Could this be the undoing of us? How do we recognize it in ourselves? How do we learn to weed it out? I have just one little story. It's probably not the most interesting, and I do have more interesting ones, but this one was a Scientology story that has nothing to do with how bad Scientology is or anything like that. It's just a story that popped up within it, where there was this man who came in and he was better dressed than everyone. And, a lot of times narcissists they can be more charming, sharper, looking, whatever. He was kind of GQ, and he suddenly just got promoted over and over and over and over again. And there were people that had been in the company forever who'd never been promoted. And it wasn't just only because it was Scientology. It was kind of the nature of the corporate beast that that this guy, he just really kind of looked the part, played the part. Similar probably to Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy, I just read that the woman he met, who he married, he met here in Olympia. And we never see anything about Ted Bundy having lived in Olympia, but it said he met her working at the emergency services here. And when I looked up emergency services, it just talked about St. Pete's. So I don't know if he was living down here or driving down here all the time. But, he had that kind of confidence where, here he is, he's this total maniac, but he's working at EMR. He was a really good friend of the governor. The governor hired him to spy on other Evergreen students. And so, he worked his way up, right, to being the right-hand man of the governor. And he's just this psychopath and working volunteer at the crisis clinic, right? All of these sorts of things. So, what do we do about this this particular problem? Oh, so one day the FBI showed up, and it turned out that guy was a fugitive and a total criminal. And here he was at near the top of Scientology at that point. And I guess this happens a lot. So anyway, we're at the end of that particular one. but there are a lot more. And once again, these really didn't have that much to do with this is like, what, we've got this guy here, that's fine, he's doing this to himself, but what if this person is running a corporation? And they have found that the most detrimental aspects of a corporation, financially, I'm not going to talk about environmentally at this point. I'm sure that's worse, but the most detrimental part of a corporation, they have found, is the CEO. That CEOs are the ones that gut things, they're the ones that make the bad decisions, and it's just a classic thing across the board, that it's bad CEOs are the number one reason that companies fail, right? It's not the weather, it's not bad workers, it's not bad product, it's the CEO. So, what fields are popular for Dunning-Kruger? I would say state shirkers. I would say politicians, anyone that can kind of convince you of whatever it is that they're totally ignorant about, and they're going to take us down this little merry path of insanity. So this is kind of what I've seen, and it's probably why we had the Dark Ages. They came when, smart people kind of got the short shrift, and, stupid people kind of took over, and there was kind of an idiocracy for a while, and there was even architecture that everyone forgot how to build. What town was it that had, it was real shameful because the dome collapsed and no one knew how to make a dome. They'd all forgotten, and for 200 years it sat like that until I think it was the Medicis had a contest, like, if anyone can do this, and Bertolucci showed up, the crazy homeless guy who was the one that did it. I always think of him when I see our guy that's out there on the street all the time, that I filmed a few times, who's just out there dancing in the rain and everything. And it's always like, yeah, what would happen if we flipped everything and put the shirkers on the street and some of those people into office, just to see what would happen. So this is kind of, I don't know, this is my worldview. This is how I see politicians and people in power. I just see them as kind of doing this all day long, but I need to see where's my own little Freddy Krueger, right? We need to see where our own blind spots are as well, and to also see, how is this being weaponized? How is human nature being led away from common sense and into stupidity? How much of this is manipulated as well? Are we now breeding, something other? Many blessings.